Hello and welcome to another video by Rick Miracle, me, in my series Freemasonry and Satanism. And I think about that name again, Freemasonry and Satanism. Why did I intuitively choose that as the title for a series? And I've come a long ways. This is series 233. On a book I've been reading for the past couple weeks. Secret Societies and Psychological Warfare by Michael A. Hoffman, 2. And you can see those monoliths, those stone monuments with the ape. It's supposed to represent the movie 2001 Odyssey 2001. Apparently man coming from ape and somehow raising its consciousness became the men and women we are today. What is the truth? Secret societies and psychological warfare. So I've been reading this book, and it has been mind-boggling, some of the information. I'm going to read from this section of the book, starting on page 21. Satan is the ape of God. So I know a lot of people don't want to believe in God, don't believe in God, or have different beliefs of what God may be. And a lot of people are into the New Age teachings, etc. A lot of people want to say they're atheists. Of course, a lot of people in the world are Islamic, from the Prophet Muhammad. In the Middle East, even in Turkey or Pakistan and many of the Asian countries. And of course you have the Hindus in India, the Buddhists in China and other Asian countries, and all over the world there are Hindus and Buddhists and Islamic people and Christians and atheists, and believe it or not, even Satanists and witches and many people belonging to secret societies. What is their religion? What do they believe? Why do they swear under threat of death if they divulge these secrets and goings on to the rest of us? Why? What are they trying to hide? What is it we should know? There seems to be secret forces, elites if you want to call them, and whether the kings and queens and princesses or emperors or pharaohs or Caesars or whoever they are, were the orchestrators of some of this chaos and anarchy throughout history, or they were just puppets to some kind of other entities and beings, be them demons or fallen angels. Some people say aliens from other planets, reptilians, gray aliens. What are we to believe? So before I start reading from the book, I want to look at a couple things. One of them is, in our city squares, we have Masonic buildings and Jewish temples and Christian churches and all kinds of other organizations, Rosicrucians, even the Church of Satan, apparently the fastest growing church in the world today. With all the satanic symbolism I've been seeing lately, I believe it. Is it a good thing? What's it have to do possibly with the Freemasonry, the pyramid, the columns, and the other symbols, even the street floor plan for Washington, D.C. is a gigantic owl, Moloch. And in the Bohemian Grove in California, where Alex Jones snuck in there and took a video, apparently, it's a big demon being, Moloch, and there on the bottom of it there's a big hole where they have a fire, and they throw in a baby, the cremation of care. with grown men only, naked in robes, some kind of satanic ritual. Strange? These secret societies, who are they? What do they have to do with the globalism forces, the New Age, New World Order, the newly established State of Israel since 1946, King Solomon's Temple, and the Masonic traditions? So what do the Freemasons have to do with King Solomon's Temple? And apparently a lot of the politicians and leaders come from these secret society organizations, so they are controlling our planet. And they are in cahoots with the rebuilding of King Solomon's Temple and the creation of Israel, and basically controlling the United States and all the other countries in the world and the banking systems. So I suppose we could agree they also control the militaries, and we know they control the educational resources, medical administrations, and everything else. School systems, the media, the newspapers, all the propaganda for this paradigm shift in social society, social conditioning they call it. So what is this and all these things I'm talking about have to do with this? Secret societies and psychological warfare and the Odyssey 2001 movie. Let me show you a couple neat little things I've collected over the years that I believe is connected to everything I'm going to talk about. I got this down in Costa Rica. I think it's San Jose, the major city and airport when you fly into Costa Rica. And it looks like a parrot, right? Turn it upside down, and it's a rhinoceros. Turn it upside down again, backwards, and it's another little creature. Upside down again, another little creature. Rhinoceros. So why did they make things like this? It's made out of ceramic, it's hollow, has some holes in it. But it is kind of mystifying, don't you think? And oddly enough, I don't think they have rhinoceroses in Guatemala, Honduras, Costa Rica. I got this in Cozumel, a Mayan mask. Here's another Mayan mask right here. And here is a ceramic pot with a big frog on it made in Nicaragua. So I've been doing a lot of research trying to find out what the heck is going on. What do we need to know about our reality? Got a Hopi rattle here from the Hopi Reservation in New Mexico I went to. This is apparently a Hopi doll, Kachina doll. Supposed to protect people from evil spirits and entities. Been reading this book. All this stuff is connected. The Phoenix Program. So what do you know about the phoenix? What's the philosophy? The teaching. Douglas Valentine. Big, thick book. I've been looking at it a little bit. But let me tell you the story about what the phoenix represents. Apparently, the phoenix is a bird, as you can see, quite an elaborate bird. Almost like a dragon or something. But it lives to be a very old bird. And the only way you get a new phoenix is for the existing phoenix, maybe it's an allegory, metaphor, whatever, is for the old phoenix to rise up and burst into flames so that the new phoenix can be born. It's the philosophy of the rising phoenix. And you'll see that metaphor or those words and images a lot if you do any research. Like, for example, Eurovision, the singing contest in 2014 in Europe. It's like our American Idol program in Eurovision. So in 2014, Conchita Wurst won the contest. Conchita Wurst. Conchita is a female sexual part. Wurst is a sausage, a male sexual part. The Conchita Wurst had the face like Jesus and the body like a woman in a silky dress. You can go look this up on the internet and see all of the YouTube material or a Yahoo image site and see all the pictures. But anyways, Eurovision, all over Europe, all over the world, Conchita Wurst sang the song, The Phoenix Rising. And I just explained to you the philosophy of the phoenix. It's like the reality, if they want a new world order, they want to rebuild the world, they need to destroy the existing world. It needs to go up in flames. So Conchita Wurst in 2014, the winner of Eurovision, sings the song, The Phoenix Rising. It has the words in that song, "You can't stop us." I kid you not. And I've been reading a lot of books, making a lot of videos, sharing a lot of material. A lot of people don't want to admit that it seems like we are under attack. There are plans and activities going on to bring the world to its knees, to bring about a global world order. Do you think it's going to be a good thing? I think not. Weaponized microwaves, beast computers, monitors everywhere, AI, artificial intelligence. Just try to think about that puzzle, what they can do. It's all about control. And apparently one of the things they want to do is when they build this new phoenix, this new world, this global world order, they don't want as many of us on the planet as there are now. They've published books, and these books are probably made to educate the politicians and leaders and administrators in education and medical. The Population Bomb, Series 35 in my series, Freemasonry and Satanism. Go get the book. While you are reading these words, 4 people will have died from starvation, most of them children. Paul Ehrlich. You could read that there. Population control or race to oblivion. Look at the top of this. So if this is what they think, back in, let me read the date here, 1968. And all indications are that they have been moving forward to remedy this problem. Like the Georgia USA Guidestones, where they say they want 500 million people worldwide. I suppose they have to get rid of about 6 billion people, leave them with 500 million to run the planet for them, whoever they are. And we'll get to that. Paul Ehrlich, Sustainability, Agenda 21. They plan on fencing off all the rural lands and national forests in the United States and forcing all the people into huge cities, probably make it illegal to have a car and just go anywhere. You won't be able to get gas. You won't be able to leave the cities. Is this all possible? Is it all feasible with the things they're doing? With the 5G microwave towers popping up right beside the road, up and down the interstates. When I just recently went to Florida and in the cities, right in the cities, towering above all the buildings, spotting everywhere were these cell phone towers, these microwave transmitters. So we should stop calling them cell phone towers. We should call them microwave transmitters. And they're going to be hooked up to everything. And they obviously have a problem with too many people. So what would you do if you were them and you had these technologies and you could just microwave people and you had monitoring systems and artificial intelligence? Heck, you could just program the system with algorithms or apps and it would take out the undesirables like that. Everywhere. People just dropping over. Doesn't give me a lot of joy to discuss these things. Another book, series 27 in my series Freemasonry and Satanism, The Limits to Growth. So when you see these things about sustainability, climate change, global warming, and everything else, there is a higher agenda. A wealthy nation is a strong nation. A wealthy nation and wealthy people are strong people. Free-thinking people. That has to stop. This is by the Club of Rome, Project on the Predicament of Mankind. It says it on the book. The Predicament of Mankind? What year was this book published? Some of this information is just too much to believe, but it's readily available. You can get these books. You can watch my videos, watch other people's videos. And you better believe it. It's real. 1974. So again, when they published these books, this was probably the books they feed to the senators and representative and hospital administrators and educators, economic leaders, and everybody else in the media, the journalists, the newspapers. All these people have been mind controlled, social conditioned. More and more people are believing this stuff. Just like global warming, climate change. But they fail to mention the geoengineering, weather control, weather warfare, all those other activities. Microwave transmitters, HARP transmitters. Here's another book. HARP. Jerry Smith. The ultimate weapon of the conspiracy. They got these big transmitters, 40 acres plus or minus, all strategically located around the world, and they can beam up these huge beams of energy this way or that way, bounce it off the ionosphere, targeting a whole city or a town or an area, or directed energy beings, maybe even taking down Twin Towers or scorching the earth in California. So if they can radiate a city in many different ways, even rural areas, so you can't escape by getting out of the city and going to the country, because they do have wide beams on the HARP transmitters, and even in the country, they're putting up those microwave transmitters, i.e. cell phone towers, what people believe, 5G. And if you have all these heavy metals and other items that they have dumped in the sky, particles, what can those particles falling from the sky, getting into your body through the food, through the drinking water, through breathing, how will they react to certain frequencies from these transmitters? These are common sense questions. We should all be asking these questions. But ignorance seems to be bliss to a lot of people. If they don't have to think about it, they don't have to deal with it, they don't have to admit it, they can just get on with their lives. It doesn't matter if the forces that be are destroying all the countries in the Middle East and murdering millions of men, women, and children. It's not happening to me, so I don't care. That's what a lot of people think. And if we are really spiritual beings, and this is not the real reality, and we're here in this material reality, and when we die, we're going back to the spiritual, real world. I wonder if we have to answer for our apathy and ignorance by choice, or even involvement, participation, flying a helicopter, taking that machine gun, blah, 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 killing all those Arabs, or people in other countries and all over Europe and the Middle East during World War I, World War II. Venezuela under attack right now economically. The country with more oil and more gold than any other country in the whole world. Beautiful landscape, mountains. There is no logical reason that country should be in a devastated condition right now. Argentina, the economy is collapsing. Italy, they're having problems. So these people who control our planet can cause all these economic disasters anytime they want. And they have all these technological weapon systems that they can take people out anytime they want. Legislation, control of the government, all these false flags. Got this old magazine I got from Alex Jones years ago. A history of false flags. Here's his stickers in there. You've probably seen these on cars. So it's not just me. David Horsey, right on schedule, The Art of Sheeple Surfaces. He's a bad man. The U.S. government orchestrated the Boston Marathon bombing. So they got making fun of Alex Jones here for saying the Boston bombing was part of a fabrication. When if you look into it, you know they were having a bombing military exercise going on at that time. And it happened at 666 Boylston Street. So there was a lot of anomalies there, like all the other incidences. 911, they were having military exercises with pretend planes flying into pretend buildings, which turned into the real event. A lot of shootings, there were shooting exercises in those cities. Train bombings, there were train exercises going on. So what the heck is going on with this? So they demonize people who are talking about facts. I got all these CDs you can buy off this InfoWars store catalog. On a lot of these topics I'm talking about. Books, I guess. There's Bloodlines of the Illuminati in the center of this video by Fritz Springmeier. I made a video on his book. That would be Series 9. So I've been researching WTH for quite a while, trying to figure out what is going on. And I wanted to open this video with that information before I start reading from this book, so that it can make a little bit of sense. So you might be able to put everything into perspective, a little background information. Knowing that they're planning on destroying, this is a metaphor, the phoenix, our reality, and taking it up in flames, a fiery inferno, nuclear holocaust, I don't know. And anyways, bringing about martial law, economic collapse, and the people rioting and screaming through the streets, killing each other, Republicans against Democrats, Christians against anti-Christians. Maybe the anti-Christians will want to kill the Christians. straights and normal people against the homosexuals and freaks and other people. People who dressed up like zombies and monsters in the street. This is all described even in the Protocols of Zion and many other books I've gone over. So like I said, with all that said, I can read from the book, and it just might make a little sense. Well, I hope you're prepared to go for a ride. Use your brain and think. Open your mind. Believe there are forces bent on a global world order. Who are they? Satan is the ape of God. The sickle symbolizes Saturn. A lot of people don't know that. The sickle. You can look up these pictures on Yahoo image site. So the sickle represents Saturn. And Satan is another way of saying Saturn. Interestingly enough, this is December 1st. Santa is just another way of saying Satan or Saturn. You just change the A around on Satan and you get Santa. And if you don't think that's correct, put Santa Claus in a numerology calculator and it's 666. So there's a lot of hokey things going on with this bringing us Santa Claus at Christmas time, which is right next to the winter solstice, which is a witch's holiday, December 21st. And remember, the sun goes all the way down to the south, which means it gets cold in the north, the winter solstice. On the 21st, it reaches the most southerly point. It stalls out for 3 days. 22, 3, 4, and on the 4th day, it rises, the 25th, which they given to the birth of Jesus Christ as Christmas. The rise in the sun starts to move back towards the north and bring us spring, and then everything blooms. So there's this alchemy, Kabbalah, mystery, religion, magic going on here with the holidays they give us, along with a lot of other things they give us. So Santa Claus was part of the rituals, I believe, during this holiday of the winter solstice, which is a witchcraft satanic holiday. Just FYI. So the sickle symbolizes Saturn, also known as Cronus, Saturn, or as the Greeks called it, the demiurges. So I'm reading this and I'm wondering, demiurge? I mean, I can understand Satan to visualize the devil with the horns, and then Saturn with the ring around it. I've known for a while that it was the a bad sign for Satan or evil. And Cronus, another demiurge or some kind of demigod. But demiurges, who are apparently all these together, Saturn, Satan, Cronus, the sickle, the Greeks called it demiurges, the operating engineer of the universe, as opposed to the creator of that universe. So even the Freemasons call their deity the architect of the universe. And apparently these demiurges, Kronos, Saturn, Satan, are called the engineer of the universe. Just interesting reading here in Michael Hoffman's book, Secret Societies and Psychological Warfare. I make these videos and have these conversations just so we can open our minds and discuss it and see if we can see it. So I did look up demiurges. You can do this too on Yahoo image site. And I found some very interesting pictures of these demiurges, Kronos, Saturn, Satan, the architect of the universe, these monsters and beings. There's the name there, demiurges. So I like to get a visualization in my mind on these things when I'm reading books like this. What is it they're talking about? Demiurges, Kronos, Saturn, Satan. And I remember seeing some pictures about the Rothschilds, one of their parties, and the men were wearing these strange hats. Like you see next to my finger here. So you start to get a clue what this religion is. I mean, you have to ask yourself, who would bring us 9/11, World War I, World War II, revolutions, all the slaughter throughout history, all the wars, the elites running things from castles and having the citizens kill each other in all these wars? What's behind that? If we are spiritual beings and we're living in this manifested physical material reality, and when we die we have to go back to this other world, the real world, what does this Kronos, demiurges, beings have to do with all the pain and suffering the world experiences? So you got the sickle there, you got the demiurges, and I'm reading the book. So apparently in the reign of Saturn we see exorbitant building and modeling activities that is reflected in the Masonic reference to their God as the big builder and the architect. So you have all these, the pictures I just showed of these Masonic temples with all these symbols. And the Masons building models of the new King Solomon's temple. And their God is the architect of the universe, the demiurge, the big builder or architect. This sounds reasonably attractive. Many of us can appreciate magnificent buildings and splendid projects along those lines, but as usual, there is more to it than this. This Saturnian Masonic edifice complex ultimately is building against the grain, against nature. Though at the beginning, in the early eras, nature's forces are manipulated with a knowledge which requires the greatest intimacy with her ways. That would be magic, Kabbalah, Zohar, witchcraft, alchemy. The greatest intimacy in the ways of nature. Things that these initiates and members of these secret societies swear under threat of death not to tell the rest of us what they're learning or what they're doing. Remember that. And remember this. If you want a little mind vision of what's going on, this might be it. I'm keeping an open mind and reading this stuff. As reflected in the various megalithic structures in the British Isles, Europe, and ancient America, over there in Egypt, the pyramids, the Sphinx, Baalbek, Baal, monuments in Ecuador, Peru, all over the world. Hopi Indians describing some entities, helping them prior to the Great Flood to build tunnels underground to survive the Great Flood. Tunnels in Ecuador, Noah in the biblical story of the Ark, tunnels in Greece, Romania, all over the world there's evidence that people survived the Great Flood. And apparently some kind of beings or entities advised some of the people how to do this so they could save a remnant of mankind. How else could all these different indigenous peoples all over the world have survived the Great Flood? Just interesting to think about. There is beauty, simplicity, and power in this early technology, and modern enthusiasts have mistaken the knowledge and sensitivity to natural forces intrinsic to this technology as indicative of the positive force at work. Actually, with some crucial exceptions, the rise of the megaliths marked the rise of the Hermetic Academy into the dominant physical plane. So the Hermetic Academy into the dominant physical plane. So if the spiritual world is the real world, and apparently there is an underworld, there are different dimensions, and there is a heaven world, and according to the tree of life, or the Sapphire, there are multiple dimensions. So I did look up this Hermetic symbols. Apparently the Hermetic Academy into the dominant physical plane. And the symbols here are a little odd, to say the least. You got the serpent eating its snake, the six-pointed star in the center of this video, the symbol on the Israeli flag, and the serpent. So you got the serpent, the six-pointed star, and the serpent in the center, and the sickle, the symbol for the moon. So you start to put some of this stuff together of the Hermetic teachings. The upside down cross, is that what it is? And the Yesserat here with the different dimensions. Here's the lowest dimension, then you go up the dimensions and up the dimensions and up the dimensions, and apparently you go up the dimensions with the serpent, with the Kundalini, going into a trance or taking certain types of drugs to enter this higher dimension. So you get a picture of what the Hermetic Academy and teachings are, which apparently have a dominant position in controlling the manifested material reality we live in, not the spiritual world. So is some component of the spiritual world controlling the physical world? I'm just looking at these pictures and thinking and discussing. So maybe we can figure this out when we read other books and look at other symbols, and we see the serpents, and we see these beings and demonic-looking men and goats with horns like this picture here. So we see all these symbols everywhere. And you can go on Yahoo image site and look at these symbols and read the different, click the picture, and it'll take you to a website where all this information is from each one of these pictures. And don't believe it as gospel and good information. Realize that these Hermetic Academy with these secret societies have a dominant position on the physical plane where we live, and we all see what they're doing. The chaos and anarchy and destruction is off the chart. The plans towards a global world order by these entities is real. But you can see it if you want to. If you don't want to, the theory is that the megaliths, so these big megaliths they put up, like in the 2001 Odyssey, pin down natural forces, helping to subdue nature's most savage furies. Subdue nature's most savage furies. So if they could subdue nature's most savage furies, then I suppose they could exacerbate or enhance nature's savage furies. If they wanted to destroy the phoenix rising into a fiery inferno for a new reality, a new world, they have to destroy the old. But remember who they are. Demiurges, Kronos, Saturn, Satan, and many other names. It's in this material I'm reading from. So you can imagine me reading this for the past couple weeks, portions of this at a time, going, wow, I didn't know that. That makes sense. Oh, this looks like this. This looks like that. That's the only way you can figure this stuff out. Take your time. We marveled today at the Hoover Dam But that symbol-laden construction is but a crude parody of the technology of the megaliths, which helped to dam the wildest forces of nature. So would the Sphinx be some kind of megalith object, geometry, mathematics, to dam the wildest forces of nature? And remember, with King Solomon and the temple, King Solomon got his power from a six-pointed ring, star on the ring, which he could use to call forth demons. So in the center of this video is a six-pointed star with the serpents. Obviously, the serpent is a symbol for the devil. In the Bible, the serpent in the Garden of Eden. King Solomon had a ring with the symbol on it, and he used that to get his power to call forth the demons. Like I said, you start paying attention to this stuff, it starts to make more sense. And you read these books and continue on. And that's all you can do, is just educate yourself a little bit by little bit. That's all I do. Next page. The construction of the megaliths, heralded by New Age types as marvels of ancient ingenuity and cooperation with nature, are actually the first physical evidence of the end of Eden, of that period on earth when humanity lived as the servants and friends of God's natural creation, as nomads and hunter-gatherers. So the ancient mankind lived a more natural reality, even in the Garden of Eden with the Bible, fruit trees and everything else provided. But then came the serpent and beguiled and said, hey, come learn all this. And what do? We kill all kinds of natives all over the planet, take over their countries and enslave them to do the mining for the resources, or slaves in factories. You have any idea what this global world order is going to be like? Is it going to be like the movie Hunger Games? So it seems. The era of modern enthusiasts for what they regard as the magical Merlinsque, like Merlin the magician, harmonious time of the Druids. I got to get into the Druids and talk more about them. This magic, or black magic, isn't exclusive to the Kabbalists or the Freemasons or the Rosicrucians or the Zionists. The Druids are another factor in this puzzle. And Stonehenge is ignorance of the fact that the historical period they idolized was itself immersed in the tampering technology and materialism, which essentially marked a revolutionary break with the natural order. According to John Michael, the first revolution of Olympus marks the first deviation from the primal ways of men. Presided over by Cronus, I showed you what a demiurge was, Saturn, otherwise Saturn, Cronus. This revolution marks the end of man's Edonic relation with the natural world, man's relation with God, the spiritual world. Remember, all over the world, before Christianity ever came along, indigenous tribes in Peru and Australia, the Aborigines, all over the world, they had the Native American Indians, Hopis, etc., the Mayans. They had witch doctors or shamans who went into trances or were trained how to communicate with the spiritual world to help solve problems with the tribes or heal people. This was a natural way of living. And of course, when the church controlling the Crusades went into areas like Mexico City with the conquistadors, the first thing they did is beeline for the shaman's hut to confiscate all of that material and knowledge, kill the shaman, and start killing the natives and steal all the gold. They were doing this all over the world. And that's not a poke at Christianity, but the people who grabbed Christianity and used it for their own purpose, the same as the people who grabbed all this shamanic knowledge from the shamans and used it for their own purposes and killed the people that knew what was going on. So the evil forces have confiscated all of this knowledge, if you want to put the thing in a nutshell on how to think about it. And once you can grasp your mind around that these people have evil intent, it helps to kind of resolve in our minds what we need to do to get out of this trap. This revolution marks the end of man's Edonic relationship with the natural world. Henceforward, man is alienated from nature by means of the Saturnian skill, however you say it, the sickle. And of course, the Grim Reaper is representative as a guy in a hood with a sickle. Stuff starts to make a little sense. Which symbolizes the sense of separation from God's natural creation that man experienced after the fall. So this is Michael Hoffman's version of psychological warfare, secret societies, and I've been reading it, and it enlightened me on a few issues. It's worth reading, absolutely. If you can wake up at all, that's a good thing, don't you think? Man began his pregeneration away from Eden through his conceit that he would become as God. So the New Age material, a lot of channelers, etc., etc., trying to teach people these days that ye are God. And remember, we're spiritual beings in these biological bodies. Are we really God? And if you look at the story in the Bible and ancient history, you can see there are all these deities and the teachings from the prophets and all of that. Jesus, Muhammad, even in the Hindu religion or the Buddhist, and basically the comparative religion course you can take in community college or college shows that a lot of these commandments from the spiritual reality are similar. Why would that be? Because it's probably pretty much common sense. You know, don't steal from your neighbor or your family or kill them. Don't steal your neighbor's wife. Don't be perverted with your neighbor's children and all kinds of other things. Don't lie and cheat and steal. Common sense to me. Yet as soon as he left the divine plan for the occult process, his stated objective became here's where it gets interesting, became the Kabbalistic Tikkun Olam. So we're talking about the occult. We're talking about the demiurges, Cronus, Saturn, and breaking away from the communication with nature and God's forces. The occult process, his stated objective became the Kabbalistic Tikkun Olam, or repair of the world. Repair of the world. So I talked about the Phoenix, where you destroy the old world to bring the new world. So apparently in this word, you can see here, this is where I made another discovery, the Kabbalistic Tikkun Olam. So I'm thinking to myself, what is that? So I went and looked it up on Yahoo image site. The Tikkun Olam, probably saying it wrong. Here you got it in Hebrew characters, Jewish characters. You got these people, looks like New Age symbols here. So they're talking about, here's a puzzle with the earth being put back together. And here's a six-pointed star, King Solomon's ring, the star on the flag of Israel. You start to see some of the connection of the dots. So Tikkun Olam, repairing the world. And if you look at the top of this search results, I didn't put this on here, When you go to Yahoo image site and you search for something, it gives you these pictures and it has all these advertisements. It says here, Jewish Tukum Onan, fine Jewish Tukum Onan, pronunciation of Tukum Onan. So basically it says Jewish Tukum Onan, where my finger is. There's a Band-Aid on the world. So somebody wants to repair the world. And it involves Hebrew characters and the Jewish people. It starts to put a lot of answers to the things that have been going on and a lot of the stuff that's in the Bible, if you want to pay attention to this stuff. Here's a six-pointed star. Tukum Onan, I looked it up. There seems to be the rainbow symbols. Looks almost like Obama's symbol when he was running for election. The six-pointed star, the Freemasons involved in trying to rebuild King Solomon's temple. So it did say here, follow your passion, find your cause. Tukum Onan, repair the world. And I talked earlier about the Phoenix Rising. So when I was reading this book and I see these different words and these different symbols for the sickle, Cronus, Saturn, and I see these symbols for the demiurges, the beings they're talking about from the spiritual realm, controlling mankind, and the serpent, the six-pointed star, and you know about World War I, World War II, which were attempts to get the Palestinians land to create the state of Israel, to rebuild the ancient kingdom of Judea. And in the encyclopedia, I've gone over that. It says, historically, the religious culture of the Jews was the Kabbalah. And I'm reading the word Kabbalah in this material here on Michael Hoffman's material. Got some pictures here. You start to put all this together. So who is this deity with the all-seeing eye and the crazy symbols of the Masons mentioned in this book? And again, we won't figure all this out, but obviously listening to me, reading from this book and these pictures and these other results I look up, we might gain a little bit of knowledge and see some of the connections that a lot of people are trying to deny. Freemasonry and the ancient Egyptians with the symbol of the Ankh. And you see those Ankhs, the T with the circle on top, on the bottom here, by their feet. See the T's with the circle on top? The T means divine, the circle on top means serpent, the divine serpent. And then we're talking about these beings and demiurges, Kronos, Saturn, Freemasons and King Solomon's temple. King Solomon's six-pointed ring bringing forth demons is where he got his control, his power. So the Freemasons are proud of their rings and they're belonging to these fraternities. I apologize to anybody who might be annoyed. I might be going too slow with this material. But I have to look up each one of these words and try to put it in perspective. So the Kabbalistic Tukum Onum, repairing the world, via the intervention and imposition of human brain power, the very egomaniacal maniacal device that caused the separation from God's natural Eden in the first place. So if the Bible is telling us the truth, and this serpent entity intervened with natural man, Adam and Eve, and destroyed that Garden of Eden, that utopia, and these are the people who are trying to architectural-wise re-engineer, destroy the existing world to bring us a new world order, global world order. Just saying. They give us the movies Hunger Games, Divergent, and so many others. The TV program Lucifer, Gotham, and all these other programs trying to social conditioning society, Modern Family, Charlie, 2.5 Man, Jerry Seinfeld, guys sleeping with a different girl almost every show. Changing our thinking, what we believe. 911, demonizing the Arabs, demonizing Russia, demonizing China. They toss it all around, demonizing straight people, Christians as haters. There are evil forces at work, and they appear to know what they're doing. That's what I'm trying to say. So I read these words and I look at these details, trying to figure out secret societies and psychological warfare. And there's a lot more in Michael Hoffman's book that just totally blew me away, but I had to talk about something that might open my eyes and maybe other people's eyes who want to kind of see reality for what it is, what we're up against. Stop being deceived. Stop being ignorant of what might really be. Repair of the world indeed, it says here. A world the Kabbalist had only just ruined. After the Satorian division, Hermetic man saw himself as separate and inevitably above nature, though always quick to identify himself as nature's benign shepherd. Hermetic man. So that would be the magician or the witch or the Kabbalistic, the Druid. This wouldn't be the common citizen that they don't want to know these things. The people even the Freemasons call the profane. Many Jews call us Goy or Goyim, and they call non-Jews Gentiles. This mighty occult shepherd king figure has emerged in history under the forms of Arthur, Merlin, Pendragon, Prester John. He is the personification of the manipulation of nature by secret technology. Manipulation of nature by secret technology. You get it? Witchcraft. Manipulation of nature by secret technology. 5G, AI, HARP transmitters, controlling the banks, the economic system, the propaganda, social conditioning, divide and conquer, Hegelian dialectic, mind control. Even commercials on TV with zombies taking selfies. We're all susceptible and victims of this social conditioning, mind control. And unless we use our intellectual brains and wake up, we're going to continue to be programmed by it and controlled by it and destroyed by it, in my opinion. He is the personification and manipulation of nature by secret technology on behalf of a secret hierarchy, secret societies, the leaders, which, if known at all, is always careful to present itself as the supreme friend of divine creation. So these secret societies, these leaders of these cults and New Age and channelers and psychics. There may be some good people in these groups. I'm not trying to say there are not. But they do try to present themselves as the supreme friend of the divine creation. So the Satorian demiurges, Cronus, and all these other names, Baal, Satan, Lucifer, they are deceivers, deceiving the minds of men. So when you get this information presented to you with all this propaganda on TV or the news press releases or the stuff you watch on TV, who did that, who did this, realize you're being controlled and deceived. They control the system. I don't think they're out there feeding us all the deception and some good information at the same time to help us, to make us aware of what's going on. They don't want us to think about that. If the expulsion from the Garden of Eden, that is to say the literal alteration of man's circumstance of living solely upon God's bounty and providence, was the result of satanic intervention, why has it not dawned on us that civilization is itself satanic? So do the satanic forces control the planet now? And a lot of people would agree that it does. So that did make me wonder, why is all the things happening that are happening? And is living on planet Earth one gigantic school we're all forced to live in the satanic world? And I guess when you leave it after 50 years, 70 years, 90 years, depending on how long you live, the decisions you made, I made, everybody makes, probably are taken into account when you get back into the real world, the spiritual world. So is planet Earth under the control of the satanic forces? And apparently, even in the Bible, when Satan takes Jesus to the mountaintop and says to him, "If you'll get on your knee to me, I will give you all of this," meaning planet Earth. And Jesus said, "No, I don't want that or need that. In my Father's kingdom there are many mansions." So I guess we all need to think about which world is real. And then when we leave this one, where we want to go, into the lower domain, the underworld, or a higher domain. And again, it's pretty much just a matter of mental thinking and making choices. That's why the Lord's Prayer says, "Lead me not into temptation and deliver me from evil." My camera was doing a different color there. In the Hermetic Masonic tradition, so now they have the words next to each other, Hermetic Masonic tradition. I could have thrown Hermetic, Masonic, Zohar, Kabbalah, witchcraft, occult, Rosicrucian, Druid, tradition. The secret identity of Satan is the cosmic force represented in the occult lore as emanating from the star Sirius, the so-called dog star. So I made a video on that book or two. I need to go back and look at it again and create some more videos from it. Let me show it to you now. It is such a long, tedious task to try to figure out WTH, what the heck is going on. But series 36, in my series Freemasonry and Satanism, probably 4 or 5 years ago, The Serious Mystery, you can get this big thick book, by Robert K.G. Temple, says here on the front, "Was Earth visited by intelligent beings from a planet in the system of the star Sirius?" So I think it's up there in the sky right now next to Orion. And if you look towards the south, the brightest star you see will be Sirius. So this kind of ties in the information with the Egyptian symbols and aliens, UFOs. The dog star, the ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics, Sirius B, Sirius. And like I said, series 36, you can go watch my video on that. And I did look up a thing about Robert Temple. Apparently he was a Freemason. So when you read these books, you need to find out who wrote them and what the game was. What was the purpose? So apparently Saturn with its ring, a Dagon drawing. So I will be going back into this book, revisiting the information. Again, one video at a time, one day at a time. Remember the old story about the race between the turtle and the rabbit? The tortoise and the hare? I guess I'm the turtle. I just slowly go along. After years and years go by, I might get there. But then many other people, men and women, have spent their entire life trying to figure out reality. Of course, they got nowhere, except maybe losing their minds. Or killed by the controllers of society, like Socrates. Alright, so the so-called dog star Alpha Canis Majoris, the dog star, in the tradition of the Freemasons, you see how I'm tying this together? Freemasons, Sirius is overwhelmingly identified with a single primary attribute, the bringing of civilization to Earth. Aha! The Freemasons are saying the Sirius dog star you see in the sky next to Orion, the brightest star towards the south of Orion, was responsible for bringing the civilization to Earth. And then I'm reminded about the book reviews I made on Zechariah's material, Planet Nibiru, Anunnaki aliens, and the channelers channeling the Palladians, and Nancy Leader channeling the Zadans, and all this other stuff. It all does seem to tie together. So when you're looking at any of the 600 videos plus or minus I have on YouTube and other people's, just remember, one way or another, it's all tied together. We have only one reality on this material reality. Leaving this dimension into another one would be the spiritual reality. And according to the Kabbalah, the Hermetic material, the Zohar, and other information, there are multiple dimensions, lower dimensions and higher dimensions. So it is a painstaking thing to do to try to figure out this religion of theirs, which wants to destroy the religion of ours, our beliefs, social conditioning, deception, propaganda, false flags, globalism. So don't believe what you see in the newspapers and the TV news tonight, or the programming and the trying to normalize things. There's a bigger game afoot. And apparently it is evil forces controlling the planet Earth, satanic forces, and it's up to us to wake up and see it for what it is. We're all taught the difference, or we intuitively know the difference between right and wrong. But we all make mistakes. Even Jesus said it. We're all sinners. And if we believe in Jesus, according to the New Testament, when you do leave this planet, you are saved. And maybe that's part of the thing here, is to wake up and be saved. I was looking at another website where they say these beings are mesmerizing we spiritual beings, convincing us when we do die to not go into the tunnel, or to go into a tunnel, because they want to recycle us back on Earth. They don't want us to get into our ascended reality. So what are we to believe? And I try to believe one small thing at a time. I'm pretty basic, fundamental in my thinking. If in my situation, if Jesus said, "Believe in me and ye shall be saved, seek and ye shall find, ask and ye shall receive," I'm going to believe that. I'm not going to believe these people who blame the Arabs on 9/11 and that we should kill them all, or that the microwave transmitters are harmless, or the stuff they're dumping in the sky is harmless. I'm going to let common sense rule my world and speak up without fear. I know that's a lot to toss out there. Back to the book. The heirs of this magical current were saluted by the Illumist and master alchemist Comelius in his 1668 book, The Way of Light. Master alchemist Comelius, 1668 book, The Way of Life. Well, those words right there just said a lot. Look how far back this information goes. Mysticism, Kabbalism, witchcraft, alchemy, magicians, druids, secret societies, Illuminati, Freemasons, Rosicrucian, Bohemian Grove, Knights of Malta, Knights of Columbus, Bilderberger groups, Club of Rome. All the symbols, Washington, D.C. street plan like a giant owl Moloch. Bohemian Grove, a giant statue of Moloch. They have a fire in the bottom of it. Cremation of care ceremony, throwing a baby into the fire. Apparently these deities, these gods, feed off of sacrificing humans. Apparently feeding them spiritual entities from the people they sacrifice. I guess it would be pretty horrific to be sacrificed. It would certainly make the spiritual essence of anybody, me or you, be quite distraught and freaked out to be sacrificed. I wonder what kind of condition that turns a spirit or soul into when they leave this plane of existence. Is there some kind of enslaving of the spiritual essence, like the kahunas in Hawaii do? Enslaving spirits of deceased people and having them do deeds. I've been going over that material from Max Long's book. What number was that? I can't see the book quickly. It's over here on this bookshelf. But you can look up Max Long in my series, Freemasonry and Satanism. Or you can go to my website, rickmiracle.com, and look in the top left. And there'll be a list of the videos posted on YouTube. Cut and paste yourself a cheat sheet so you can study the material that you want at your own leisure, the different topics I've gone over. The Way of Light, dedicated to the first scientific organization in Western history, Britain's August Royal Society. So here's another one. In it, Comelius addresses the first formal scientist as Illuminati. So these scientists into controlling the secret forces of nature, witchcraft, were called the Illuminati. Isn't that illuminating? Did you want to know that? And outline their scientific purpose, which is to secure the empire of the human mind over matter. So their scientific purpose, which is to secure the empire of the human mind over matter. Secure the empire of the human mind. And then I'm thinking AI, artificial intelligence, facial recognitions, monitoring, surveillance systems, weaponized microwave transmitters in your homes, your refrigerator, your iPhone, cell phone, your car, everything. The empire of the human mind. Is somebody wanting to turn humans into zombies? Just saying, I'm thinking as I'm reading this stuff. In a key Rosicrucian description of the city of Utopia, it is shown to be dominated by science and mechanics, and more ominously by the medical dissection of cadavers, the medical dissection of human bodies, and in other words, by the hyper-analytical obsession of rationalism with dead matter and measurement. Well, that explains Frankenstein. Interestingly enough, that's where the legend came from. Geneva, on the Swiss-French border, which was the long-time homeland of the Illuminati, the scientists into dead matter and measurement, and home currently now to CERN, the collider. Did you know all that? You read these words, and if you have any background knowledge, some of the pieces of the puzzle come together. You go, ha, that's why they did that. And that tunnel opening they had, the ceremony in Switzerland, now that was demonic if I've ever seen anything. I mean, there's even a demon dropping from the sky with horns. Naked people on a train car going past all the politicians and dignitaries appearing to be groping in a sexual orgy, which is part of this satanic sexual rituals. Like I said, you can see it if you want to. If you don't want to, I don't think anybody can make you. For maybe some people, ignorance can be bliss while they're alive. But I suspect when we go back to our spiritual origin, where we came from, we'll know who we were before we were here on earth, and we know what we did on earth and what we said and what we believed. I'd hate to see somebody go, man, I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have joined the satanic Lucifer secret societies and wanted to be part of enslaving the human mind. Gotta have a sense of humor here. The utopian city of the Rosicrucians is before us today. The utopian city of the Rosicrucians is before us today. And I'm going to say this now. This Michael Hoffman spent a lot of time doing this research. A much smarter man than I. He took all this time to write this book, and I've gone over so many books and read so much material. I'm kind of believing that this guy believes what he's writing. He may not have it all right. Of course he doesn't. Neither do I. Neither will anybody. But at least we can get a glimpse of what reality might really be. And stop being fooled and recognizing the danger we're all facing with this movement forward towards a global world order. This deception of global warming, climate change, sustainability, terrorism, economic destruction. None of that has to exist. Handing over 2 to 10, 20 billion a year to Israel and these Illuminati elitists to take over the world. We're paying for it. Killing people, indigenous peoples, destroying their environment all over the world. I guess if people are short-sighted and think about only what they can gain in this material world, their 70, 80, 90 years of living, and don't see eternity for what it is, there you have it. The utopian city of the Rosicrucians is before us today. New York and Los Angeles, Babylon the Great. And it was planned in 1668 and long before. So we all know that even the Jews have been under some kind of distress called a diaspora for 2,000 years, 3,000 years since leaving even Egypt. And they had this propensity to embrace this Kabbalah-type Babylonian religion. You suppose that might answer why they had problems everywhere they went? What is the Kabbalah or the religion of the Jewish people? What does it mean to be Jewish? And what about the Khazarians from Khazars up there by Germany, Poland, and Russia? A whole center of that landmass years ago was a country called Khazaria with the Khazars, which embraced Judaism because they found out they were the chosen people. And these Khazarians were very barbaric, ruthless people. They didn't want to join the Islams, or they didn't want to join the Christians. They used to rent their armies out to kings to fight other people's wars. They were barbaric. Ironically and coincidentally, They were next door neighbors to the Mongolians, and we all know about Genghis Khan and his ravaging all of Asia and Eastern Europe and all those territories, ruthlessly, viciously killing everybody in his path, Genghis Khan and the Mongolians, saying that God had told him to punish all the people for their sins. So what kind of entity you think was talking to Genghis Khan? And you can go on Yahoo image site, put in Genghis Khan and see some of the symbols, and you'll get an aha moment and see these Satorian, Cronus, Kabbalistic, Hermetic symbols. Just saying. Once you know what's going on or have an idea what's going on, you start to recognize some of the pieces of the puzzle a little easier. We have forgotten the depth of the roots of the modern disease. We have forgotten the depth of the roots of the modern disease. Are we living with a modern disease right now, our world? And it does pain me to see the powers that be from the Pentagon and leaders in Europe and America and Canada and all over the world over there assisting the Israelis, the Kabbalists, the Illuminati, the secret societies, killing all those Arabs and destroying their countries. And you can look up on Yahoo image site and look up Greater Israels and see the ancient kingdom of Judea from the Iraqi Euphrates River to the Egyptian Nile. They had plans to have that kingdom to bring it back. The ancient kingdom of Judea. Six-pointed star on King Solomon's ring that he used to call forth demons where he got his power. The ancient Egyptian religion, mystery religion of Babylon. The whore of Babylon. The Scarlet Woman. I have another book to look at right away, and it gets into this stuff just a little bit on a different angle. But together, these things help you see for what this truth might be. Like I said, I take this one book, one day, one video at a time. You can't rush this kind of thinking. We have forgotten the depth of the roots of modern disease. We have accepted the pap than anything that predated the more obvious rapacity of modern industry. Pollution was natural and magical, the notion of magic being identified with the pristine. Hence we have denied ourselves knowledge of the beginning of the rise of the cryptocracy. That's an interesting word, cryptocracy. So what is a Jewish person who says he converted to Christianity but didn't? He's a crypto Christian, not really Christian. So what's cryptocracy? It's these people who are saying, and these powers that be that are actually our leaders, they're really not. It's a cryptocracy. One word at a time, one page at a time, one sentence at a time, one picture at a time. Historian John Michael, it is their immediate concern, having eaten of the tree of knowledge, to apply all their newly acquired arts to constructing a facsimile of the garden, a modern paradise. So this global world order, with all the microwave transmitters and microchipping children and people, and weaponized systems and chemicals and artificial intelligence, these people want their modern paradise, but probably to enslave the rest of us as zombies and depopulate the planet, as I've shown here. Just kind of a glimpse at what they want, what they think, what they're willing to do. We've all seen what they're willing to do, what they've done. Shock and awe in Iraq. Assassination of many presidents, bankrupting countries, crashing the economic system in the United States 8 times since 1913 when they took over the money supply, in cahoots with President Woodrow Wilson, and 6 months later entered World War I, all planned. so they could obtain the Palestinians' land to rebuild the ancient kingdom of Judea. The symbols are all there. The evidence is all there. The Balfour Plan. I had that one other document that I showed where they had, before World War II, I've showed this in my other videos. I'll be showing it again. Before World War II, they had big press releases or pages taken out in major newspapers that after World War II, Europe and the world pledged to give the entire world to the Jews, the Zionist Jews, to make amends for all the horrors of the past. So these alchemy, Kabbalist, Cronus, Saturn, Zohar, witchcraft, Babylonian religious types, which have had trouble running the world for thousands of years, are going to have the whole world handed to them. The deals were made by the elite politicians prior to World War II. I showed that. I'll show it again. But people don't want to believe this stuff. I don't want to believe it. But here I am reading the pages, thinking with my brain. But there already was an architecture prior to man's imposition of his structures and interventions. This was the architecture of the natural landscape as shaped by God. So when the whole thing began, creation and mankind, that was all built by God. And the world we see today, that so many people are complaining about the pollution and toxic waters and food, that was created by these people who control our world. The people who killed all kinds of indigenous peoples in South America, Central America, North America, the American Indians, the Asians all over the world, to take over their countries and waterways and natural resources, and gave them concrete houses to live in Mexico with no windows or no running water in the house. Just saying, the whole world would have been better off if it had continued to be God's world, instead of these architects from apparently the underworld. To claim that to have left it as it was would have been barbarous and backwards is symptomatic of the diseased occult mind and its gigantic egotistical pathology. So if you try to claim, and of course now they're with this new age and sustainability, everybody wants to go back to organic and change things to get a, and the elite demiurge characters, the demons that are controlling our reality, are using that knowledge that we all see the pollution, and they're forcing these new age and global sustainability laws on us, and we're willing to agree with them because we see how polluted it is, but they made it this polluted. Of course, they want to blame us even for global warming and climate change. But they control the newspapers and the banking system and the education system and the medical systems and everything else. So what are people going to do? Wake up, use their intelligent brain, and realize, we're physical beings for a short period of time. The real reality is the spiritual world. And that's where the real power is, too. They don't want you to believe in God and pray, to obey the 10 Commandments, to have communication with God, to have your prayers answered. During the 1920s, the communists testified before Congress in the United States. They were going to infiltrate the religions and change everything. And they infiltrate the education system, the media, the newspapers, the movies, the TVs. They got us every which way. And any one of us at any time can choose not to be a party to their game and realize what they're doing. That's the amazing thing. It's just a mental decision to see what they're doing. Talk to God and go, hey, I see it. No, I don't think these evil things they're doing are good. I disagree with what they're doing. They shouldn't be killing all the Arabs. They shouldn't be demonizing family values and natural marriage and demonizing Christians as haters if they don't agree with transgenderism, pansexualism, and all of that. But they do say during the end times, up will be down, down will be up, left will be right, right will be left, good will be bad, bad will be good. Everything's going to be backwards. People will become so confused, they'll turn into zombies all on their own, probably. Because it's not natural for the human mind to live and think like this, where the wacko crazies are actually the normal people. I was out shopping at Walmart today, and this car pulled up and a group of people got out. I swear it was like a circus, and these were their normal family members. One 20-year-old boy, tall boy, looked about that age, 19, 20, had bright yellow pink hair. And I just looked and I go, oh my, have I entered the Twilight Zone? Have I left reality? Where am I? But we all see it around us and they're normalizing it. And they call you a hater or evil if you don't embrace it. It's like 30 years ago or 40 years ago when they brought Pokemon to our children. I said back then the kids are going to start looking like Pokemon, and they do. Tell me where I'm wrong. So I'm reading Michael Hoffman's book here, sentence by sentence, throwing in my 2 cents. All right. To claim that to have left it as it was would have been barbarous and backwards. This is what these New Age leaders think, is symptomatic of the diseased occult mind and its gigantic egotistical pathology. So these people who are controlling the media, preaching the New Age and all this transgenderism, occult mind and gigantic egotistical pathology, that's who's controlling our world. And only those forces would be building all these microwave transmitters, dumping chemicals in the sky, genetically modifying foods that your body doesn't recognize as food, causing tumors and cancer and destruction, polluting all the water intentionally with fracking, and so much more. Covering up everything that's going bad. They don't even tell people when nuclear power plants leak. And you go online and check one of those sites with all the meters, and you'll see that some of them are in evacuation mode. The radiation is so high. You don't see that on the nightly news or in the newspapers, do you? That whole cloud could be going over your city today if you're in the Northeast or Midwest, wherever the nuclear power plant might be. You can go online and see the meters for yourself. Radiation meters, monitoring. Look it up on the internet and find those sites and look at the meters and look at the counts and go, oh my God, I didn't know that. What kind of monstrous reality do these entities want to bring us? Anyways, this book is Secret Societies and Psychological Warfare, Michael Hoffman. All right, moving along on this book. As long as it was left as God created it, it was paradise. So as long as our world was left as God created it, it was paradise. I think a lot of people will agree that the human-caused pollution is a problem. But I also believe it isn't you or I that runs things. The factories in the early part of the 1900s that were dumping all those toxins from shoe factories and everything else into the waterways that brought us World War I, World War II, 9/11, 4,000 nuclear explosions in the ground, in the oceans, and in the atmosphere and above ground, and so much more. If all that stuff had not have been done, the earth would be a lot better place. I think people will agree with that. And it isn't you or me. We didn't explode the nuclear weapons in space. People from the secret societies did, and all these elite groups that swear under threat of death not to let the goings on or what they know to tell the rest of us. You got to pay attention when you read this stuff and use some discernment. I don't believe it's we the people, the general populace out there, that they call profane. If we were in charge and so many people had not been assassinated who owned factories and had money, and kings and leaders of other countries hadn't been killed and destroyed who were trying to do the right thing, we'd have a better planet. And I believe everybody agrees with that. That's why they killed all those people who didn't go along. That's why they're demonizing the leaders of Venezuela right now, and all those leaders of the countries in the Middle East, etc., 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 and playing games with our minds, demonizing President Donald Trump, or demonizing Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton. They're all puppets to these forces, I agree. But there's a bigger force above them causing all these problems. That's where we need to be looking. And there's a bigger force that can take them out, and that would be the spiritual realm, God, and knowing whatever your religion is and praying and speaking out and acting. Be the part. Don't do evil. Say no to this transgender pansexual reality they're trying to give us. And saying that we can kill all of the Arabs and all these other things they're doing. The other things they're going to do that are going to be more horrific. What will people like me or you or anybody else do when these things happen, if they start beheading people by the millions? Will people speak up, or will they just watch? What have they done in the past? The people didn't speak up. They watched. They become complicit in it, spiritually. I'm not trying to be a preacher here, but lordy, lordy, I read these pages, and I'm learning as I go. So let me read on here. Due to our blindness, we feverishly cooperate with the imposition upon the earth of our own versions of Eden, which always ends in the creation of Babylon, of hell on earth, Michael. So more knowledgeable, intelligent people wrote books and said those things. So when they create these super cities, which apparently they're doing everywhere, and they're creating these mini little Babylons everywhere with this new philosophy, pansexual, transgender, anti-Christian, anti-God, ye are God. Settlement leads to the establishment of social hierarchies, to specialization and the development of arts and sciences, the building of temples and houses. For millions of years, men, essentially, the same as we are now, lived without these and presumably without feeling the need for them. So for thousands of years, mankind lived without all these condensed cities with the skyscrapers and all the concrete bridges weaving in and out of them, and the super septic systems, sewer systems, and the toxic foods and waters, and the drugs and everything else. It says here that people lived without that stuff for a long time and did quite well. But of course there were evil forces that were destroying people all through the ages. Tactius described a German tribe that lived entirely without the artificial shelter. The phenomenon of successive towns built around the same sacred place, the spirit of which became the foundation deity, receiving the sacrifices offered. Receiving the sacrifices offered. So apparently these occult organizations, lodges, temples, religions, they do sacrificing of humans. They have sacrificial rituals and holidays. And I believe it. I've listened to enough people, watched enough people talk about it on YouTube videos and books and magazines, etc. You can look it up and start looking into it too. Miles Johnston in the Basis series, and so many others. People escaping from MK Ultra, mind control programs. Quite bizarre stuff. I've got books on these topics. I need to... Kathy O'Brien and so many others. But a lot of you who watch my videos are aware of this stuff. Receiving the sacrifices offered in expecting of the crime of settlement and giving the law by which the city was governed. So apparently these forces that control nature to some degrees, called witchcraft, they sacrifice people as some kind of settlement for assistance from the spiritual realm. This is why they have events like on 9/11 and certain days. Implicit in this law was a contract between man and God, by which the first was permitted a conditional and limited use of land for agriculture, building in return for duties and observances paid to the second. So it was understood by the founding fathers of cities. But as cities expand, these limitations became more onerous and neglected, with the result that, in the language of the Apocalypse, the city became Babylon, the parasitic whore, and proceeds towards destruction. And look at some of the inner cities now. I've watched some videos of people showing pictures and videos of some of our cities today with the vast amounts of homeless people, and the maintenance has been abandoned on the streets, like Los Angeles, etc. These controllers can turn off the maintenance programs and money anytime they want. They can say there is no money, create some kind of austerity, communism, which they're trying to do with Agenda 21 and Agenda 2030 and sustainability, global warming, climate change threats. So it'll justify them saying shutting everything off, and everything will go into disaster, ruin. The parasitic whore, and proceeds towards destruction. In this belief, the traditional element in ancient Rome objected to expansion beyond the original city boundaries, considering it a breach of the foundation contract. Such counsels were of course ignored, and in consequence Rome, following the career of all previous empires, became Babylon indeed. Civilization tends to grow more and more elaborate and to make even greater demands on the earth that sustains it. And that's certainly going on now. But I think there's intentional destruction going on, especially with the air quality and water quality and food quality. Somebody's trying to accelerate and exacerbate the situation. Like the phoenix rising and bursting into flames. The allegory of destroying the old to rebuild the new. Global world order. 5G coming online soon. Microwaves, transmitters up and down the highways, right beside the roads, right in the cities, all hovering over the houses. AI. Go buy one of those Echo machines and talk to it. Seems like it knows everything. Apparently there are reports that people fighting in their home are making threats. Echo reports it to the police. What kind of world is coming? There comes a time when the old natural devotion to the earth is exchanged for the desire to increase the products of the earth by artificially stimulating its fertility. This stage is marked in history by the appearance of sun gods, divinities of reason, intellect, and the centralized government, whose legends refer always to their victories over dragons, i.e. nature. This policy of artificially increasing the earth's fertility and multiplying the gifts of its spirit instead of accepting what is given by nature is evident in the staking of the earth in symbolism, as seen in the moftet of the knight spearing the dragon, which is sometimes viewed as the pinnacle of the victory of light over dark. But we should also be aware that there is an alternate occult reading in this image. The Arthurian symbol has been celebrated by pagans and Freemasons as a sign of man's absorption of natural creation. So what do you think? Mankind today can outdo God? I don't think so. But I do know, like the Great Flood, whoever and whatever God is, he certainly can erase everything. Like the ancient world was like Babylonia, all polluted and like the scarlet whore and all of that. It wasn't God's creation any longer. So what did he do? He had Noah build an ark, and apparently the Hopi Indians and other natives all over the world, some forces or spiritual entities, had them build underground facilities or facilities in mountains to save a remnant of the human race. All over the world those stories are told. And then the Great Flood came, and all that pollution and altered DNA and genetically modified humans and creatures and mythology that we've all seen, it was all destroyed. It was the only way to destroy it. But God knows that we're spiritual beings. So when he did destroy everything, you know, all these physical bodies and animals and all that died, the spirits of the humans went somewhere. So I'm not quite sure how it fits into reincarnation. It would be interesting for me to read up on books about that, reading about reincarnation and people who existed before the Great Flood. I have to look at some more of Edgar Cayce's material. I'm not professing or declaring that I have all the answers, but I am saying that we all need to wake up and see the obvious for what it is. Whoever is at play trying to bring us a global world order is attacking us. They do need to bring everything down. They need to get the people deceived and insane and slaughtering each other before they can present them with the solution of the global world order. Biblically prophesied, that's the way the scenario goes. And you're not going to get people to do these crazy things unless they are insane and crazy. They'll do anything. Just like they had economic destruction before World War I and World War II. The people were so tired of living in the Great Depression that they wanted anything and would accept a world war. So if they did that prior to World War I and prior to World War II, don't you think they'll do that prior to World War III? To get everybody to go in line like 911, and then George Bush's shock and awe, fiery infernal over all those Iraqi troops who were only on their own border protecting their own country. They were all burnt alive. It's horrible. What about all those people in the Middle East countries? Slaughtered, machine guns, phosphorus, chemicals, depleted uranium shells launched over there. That stuff doesn't go away. So they found a way to get rid of uranium waste. Just launch the rockets all over Iraq. Just saying, you get a little upset when you think about some of these things. But maybe we should get upset. Maybe that's what it takes for us to say no. Or do we just allow them to continue to destroy our reality and bring everybody to the point of accepting the global world order when it's presented? When the 5G networks are online, when everybody is microchipped, when the biblical prophecy is fulfilled. The people who don't accept the Luciferic satanic deity will be executed by beheading. Go look up the secret passage of Noahide laws. Go look up the America military or FEMA purchasing guillotines. Look up recently, whoever these entities are, ordering new guillotine blades from Mexico recently. Look up billions and millions of bullets purchased by the government agencies. Look up FEMA camps, microwave crowd control vehicles, facial recognition, artificial intelligence, Jade Helm 15. Look at all the symbols we've all seen. Satanic symbols. The Switzerland Tunnel opening, Eurovision, Emmys, Grammys, beings with horns, Madonna, Super Bowl halftime shows, Lady Gaga, Beyonce, Katy Perry, and so many more. On and on and on and on they roll. People get worn out. Finally they say, okay, we'll go along. But the forces that are bringing us this new reality will not stop. Concession will get us nowhere, in my opinion. The weaponizing of microwave transmitters everywhere should be an alarm to everybody. The staking process is seen by them as a means to pin down the heretofore flowing character of the energy of creation, so as to be harnessed and bled by Stonehenge-like technology. Harnessed like Stonehenge technology. Does that explain all those satanic monuments and buildings and gargoyles on buildings and obelisks in our city squares? Are they pinning down some kind of spiritual energies in order to give greater and greater resources to man? So I suspect it's not we profane citizens out there. It's these people in the secret societies will have more control for greater and greater resources. When they microchip everybody and turn on AI and the weaponized computer systems and all that metadata on each of us. So those people who don't go along and who resist, think of the book 1984. George Orwell. You don't need to be a rocket scientist or a genius to see this for what it is. The appearance of sun god signals, the introduction of a technology that aims to alter the natural channels of the earth spirit and to stimulate its energies for the benefit of an increasingly large settled population. So all these mega cities with all these people. Can you see it? You know, you watch it in a movie and you think it's just fictional and so far away. But then you do like I did and you recently drive down to Florida and you go through Greenville when you enter South Carolina from Asheville, North Carolina, and you can't move 10 miles in an hour. And then you get into Florida and the same thing happens for a whole day. You can't go 10 miles an hour, 4 lanes. And I looked over at my girlfriend and I said, you know, it looks like there is too many people. Nobody can move on all the congested highways anywhere. And you know what? It's designed that way. It doesn't have to be that way. It's Michael Hoffman's Secret Societies and Psychological Warfare. That's social conditioning. When I had that thought and I smiled and looked at my girlfriend, I said, maybe there are too many people, you know, all this propaganda. But then I'm aware that they're creating these situations. They could computerize, control the road systems and control the GPSs and funnel people away. Come on. They could build more railroad systems, but they're trying to get the people out of the rural areas. They want to make it an ugly situation. It is psychological warfare. And you have to ask yourself what kind of forces are behind it. And obviously the secret societies and this Kabbalistic, Zionist, Zohar, witchcraft, secret societies, Rosicrucian, witchcraft, Bohemian Grove, all these organizations, the initiates into this mystery Babylon religion, sold their souls to the devil, so to speak. They're going to the underworld and they know it. But do the rest of us know we have a choice? Just throwing my 2 cents in here, thinking. From all that has recently been discovered about the scientific knowledge and methods of the megalith builders, it appears that their system was in the magical tradition of Egypt, Babylon, and the ancient East. At Delphi, by spearing the serpent, a lot of people have seen those ancient pictures of a knight with a spear spearing the serpent. By spearing the serpent and localizing its energy, so metaphorically that's tapping into the energies of earth with all these satanic symbols like obelisk, all-seeing eyes and pyramids, etc. And a mesmerization and trances created by the TV programming, flat screens, digitation, and radio transmissions and everything else. The system is coming online. It's not going to be nice. Like I said in my last video, the old saying, you ain't seen nothing yet. So it seems. Spearing the serpent and localizing its energies, Apollo raised the productivity of the oracle. Every ancient standing stone is like an ophalos in the temple of Apollo, driven into the head of the Turelic serpent current, fixing and augmenting the earth energies which had formerly fluctuated. So think about that, containing the energies of the planet. Think about all those elf towers, low frequency, they're putting up every couple miles. The microwave transmitters, don't call them cell phone towers anymore so you can explain it to people. Cell phone towers seems innocuous. Not threatening. Just call it microwave transmitters for what they are. And then the HARP transmitters. And the Phoenix Rising and Eurovision in 2014, Conchita Wurst winning it, singing the song The Phoenix Rising, You Can't Stop Us. And the discrediting and attempted destruction of Christianity, which it looks like they've accomplished, in bringing us this new Noahide religion with the 7 candlestick menorah, etc. And even President Donald Trump saying the United States recognizes Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, knowing full well where our political leaders come from. The Council of Foreign Relations and all these other trilateral groups and Masonic lodges and Illuminati, Skull and Bones. People know. We can admit it. They're in charge. And they have plans. King Solomon, his 6-pointed magic ring, could interact with the spiritual underworld, bringing forth demons where he got his power. Greater Israel pictures you can look up on Yahoo image site. Takes a while to figure this out. I'll bet these people really don't know what they were involved in. The Masonic builders, worshiping the architect of the universe, not the creator of the universe, God, but the design engineer. Get it? King Solomon's temple, the major cities, microwave transmission systems, microchipping children and people, mind control, eugenics. These are the symbols you can expect to see on the new religion. Thank you for watching another one of my videos. Just a conversation. Looking at another book that I've been reading for a week or two. Rick Miracle reporting.